So as I was working at this life insurance company, I knew that like this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I do not want to be a data integrity analyst. I want to be that developer that I've been trying to be this whole time. So I stumbled upon something, and I still say it was by the grace of God that I was able to stumble upon that. But it was like an article about a coding boot camp, and I had heard about them before, and I just kind of threw out the idea at that time. But I looked at it again, and I became enthralled in it, and I was just like researching and searching and finding all the information. I wanted blog posts, I wanted websites, I wanted reviews, and I looked at everything, and I finally said, you know what, about February, I was like, just do it. So I was like, I'm just going to apply. So I went and I applied to a coding boot camp, and I got accepted. And I was like, what? So after I got accepted, it was time to find funding for it. I couldn't live off savings and pay for the boot camp with my savings. I found third-party options to get loans, and I got rejected a couple of times, and finally I found one. I had actually, before I got the one that I had, I got rejected by two, and I literally sent the admissions people for the boot camp. I said, hey, I tried and I'm not finding funding, so I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do the program. And they were like, well, have you tried this one? And I said, no, I've not tried that one. So I applied and they accepted, and I was like, cool. So now I'm on again. Woohoo! Gonna start this new journey. Every anniversary day, every year on the day that you were hired, they try to get you a raise. If you do your work, if you show up on time, if you are, consistent and you're improving and you're providing to the company, then they will compensate you back for what you're doing for them. So she was very excited. She's like, Tiffany, we got you another raise this year. And I was like, really? About that. So I told her, I was like, hey, I've been trying to do this developer thing for a very long time, and I believe that going through this coding boot camp will put me a step further to get there. So I want to pursue it just to see how it works. And she said, you know what, I get it. Thanks for letting us know. And I was like, cool. So I that was my 4-week notice. So I gave them 4 weeks. I gave them the 4 weeks because I had it to give. And I thought, well, this is the least thing I could do, right? So I did that, and during that time, I was able to, further document the work that I was doing, and leave that documentation there for my 2 coworkers and my boss that was going to have to, pick up and do my work. And so when I left and I went to the coding boot camp. It was here in Dallas, and 3 months coding dojo. I did 3 programming languages in 3 months. So we did the LAMP stack with PHP. We did the mean stack with JavaScript and Angular. And then we did Ruby on Rails. So I enjoyed it all, and I was leaning more towards PHP because I had had that experience with PHP before. So I was like, I think that would fit me well. And then I found out about Mean, and Mean was like awesome. I was like, this is really cool. Because before then, I was just doing JavaScript, just plain vanilla JavaScript. And, I didn't know about Angular. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know about Express, and I didn't know anything about Mongo. So to learn all those things this is really exciting. And then of course Ruby on Rails was just something that was really awesome to me. It's really cool, to be able to have that experience, to go through that coding bootcamp experience. But I went through the coding bootcamp, and after I graduated, again, here I am trying to get that job again, that developer job I've been chasing for years at this point now. And I was like, oh my gosh, now here's the time. And I had interviews, and nothing panned out. And I had really good experiences, like interviewing, and I had some things that I thought were like, we're gonna hire you, but then it didn't happen. And I had a chance to interview at some really cool places. So I'm very grateful for the places that I was able to kind of walking the doors up and be like, wow, this could potentially be a working spot for me. And though it didn't work out, I was very grateful for those opportunities. So my coding bootcamp ended in June, and at this point, well, I'll just give it a time. It wasn't until October that I actually landed a job, and it wasn't a developer position, so sadly. So from about June to October, I was just hunting and get my projects steady updated and do all these code tests and everything they have you do for stuff. So I did all those things, and October, I think it was about the end of September, that I was approached about a business systems analyst position. And I'd read, after I did some research, but I'd read that, being a business systems analyst could potentially turn into a developer position. So I was like, okay, because you get to work with the developers and you get to work with the end users. At the particular company I was working at, they were in the healthcare field. And specifically imaging, so MRIs and CT scans and all those things. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about any of those things. But I was like, well, it's another challenge. So the lady, the recruiter contacted me back about a week after she had initially had a conversation with me and said, hey, they would like to, have an interview with you. And I thought, what? For what? Because for me, I was like, I don't have the experience they were looking for. They work with so many different web-based systems, specifically within like radiology and things like that. And of course, I don't know about those things. I am not an expert in any of those fields, and I knew that was probably like a barrier to entry. And when she told me that no, they want to talk to you, I was like, oh, well, okay, let's talk. So we had an interview, and I mean, it was really crazy because I had the interview on a Friday, and that's another video I need to talk about as well, or blog post, either way, about kind of that interview experience. And so I had that interview experience, and then I was able to, right after that, she's like, do you have time for a drug test? And I was like, sure. So I'm like, oh, cool, this is a good sign, And of course, with it being an imaging center, and it was attached to a hospital, I just walked downstairs for a drug test. So it was very simple, the quickest process ever for a drug test I've ever done. So I was like, this is very convenient. So after that, I, found out I got the job, and I started 2 weeks later. So when I got the job, and when I started, I had culture shock. So you had to wear scrubs. And at first I was like, well, this would be cool, new experience, wear scrubs. And then after wearing scrubs for 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm actually ready to kind of wear my own wardrobe. But I mean, that was a total different thing. But I had culture shock because, I mean, this was an hourly position. Up until then, I'd been working salaried, even at my first job where I was reviewing or copying and pasting things that I found off the internet into places and modifying them. Like, even that job was salary. So I never had an hourly job. So here I am having to clock in and, get to work at this specific time with traffic every day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how stressful is this? Because if I clock in late, I leave late, and it's like, oh, this is not fun. And then you get a 30-minute lunch. And I thought, oh my gosh, how stressful. And on top of that, I was in the office, which is, my boss is behind me, and I'm working here, and she's here, and I'm like, this is very strange. And she tells me, well, you'll be working, here for a couple months until, you get more comfortable, because we had to answer support calls over the phone, and I wasn't very comfortable doing that. So I had to kind of get in the groove of doing it. And with me, I adapt. I'm an adapter. So if that's what we're doing, if we're answering phone calls, I'm like, hey, what's up? And I'm, well, I couldn't say what's up, but I'm putting on that professional voice and I'm answering phone calls. So I was like, so you want me to sit right in front of you this whole time? So I did. And it was a very nerve-wracking experience. It was very nervous. I was very nervous all day, I think, just because there's somebody watching me the whole day. It's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Is not my cup of tea. So I did that, and of course I didn't like it, and I knew I had to find something else. I basically learned um, over the phone communication skills and how to be pleasant over the phone, and kind of proper phone etiquette. Because prior to that, I mean, most people have like customer service jobs before. I had never had any of those things. Closest I came to it was that part-time job I had giving campus tours, and I'm better face to face than I am over the phone anyhow. So I also had to kind of find my way around that issue. So I I had to go. But I learned their systems, and a lot of times people would call, and in the back of my head, I'm like, please just want your password changed, because I could change your password all day, but I cannot do all these other things. So sometimes I got really lucky, and people were just like, Tiffany, I locked myself out. Oh, great. Let me unlock your account. I could do that. But then, kind of like the other questions, I'd have to say, would you mind holding? And then I have to ask. So it was a very interesting environment to be in, and I learned what I do not want in a job from that job. So I gained something. So it's not like it all went to waste. And it was definitely an experience. It was a challenging experience to have, just because of the work environment and learning those new things. But I knew I was able to pick up new things easily. I mean, I ended up leaving there, and now I'm working at a company located, of course, here in Dallas, and they go to schools in Dallas ISD at the moment, just Dallas ISD, and which is a really big school district here in Dallas, and they basically teach kids how to code, and I'm instructor. So basically, what I do is I go to these classes. Right now, I have elementary school kids and I have high school kids that I teach as well, and then there's also an after-school program with middle school kids that I also help out with as well. So I'm getting a chance to kind of experience all different spectrums of kids, from the small ones to the big ones. So it's really interesting. It's been pretty interesting, and it's been a great experience so far. Many times we're introducing these kids to code. They've never seen it before, and they don't know about web development at all. So it's really humbling experience to be able to go in and say, okay, this is what these things are, and this is what you're able to do. And just a couple of days ago, my high school kids, and these are small groups of kids. So at this class, I have 3 students. So I was able to, I showed them my website, and I was like, hey guys, this is what I did. And then I was like, this is a game I made. And they were like, oh my gosh, they were flipping out. It was like, this is really cool. This is awesome. And just to see that response from them was very humbling to me. I was like, this is what it's about. Because the more people that know about it, just to be informed, even if they, maybe just one of them, go into, pursue development, that's better than none at all. And I'm getting to teach, the basics of these things to them, so they have that knowledge, and it's really awesome to do. But it's only a part-time job, and I went in knowing that. So I left my full-time job at the imaging center for a part-time job. And at first I thought to myself, what? And then I was like, well, you know what? I prayed about it, and I was like, you know what? Okay, let's go this route. So, it was, God kept pushing me in that direction. Things came up that kept pushing me that direction, and I was like, okay, let's go for it. So I took the gamble, and I'm happy that I did, because I'm happy with where I'm at now. It's you have to, not only that, but in April, I'll actually start as a TA, so a teacher's assistant. So SMU is a college here in Dallas, and they are doing a coding boot camp. And so a third-party company called Trilogy is um, providing the curriculum. And so they do this all over the states. They provide curriculums to universities, so kids are so people can learn how to code and kind of develop that skill set. So they're doing a full stack web development boot camp, and so I went through that interview process. They accepted me, and so I'll be starting that in April. So that's a really good experience as well. It's really funny because I heard about the SMU Coding Bootcamp last year, so it was about September or somewhere around there. And I looked at it, I said, man, this looks like a really cool boot camp. I wish I could have went to this one to experience that. And in January they're calling me like, we need instructors and TAs. So would you mind being a TA? And I said, oh yeah, of course, I'm there. So the interview process was very is a different one than I've experienced before, and of course that's another video. But it was just a pleasant experience interviewing, and it wasn't like nerve-wracking like I'm used to or had in the past. So I am not currently working as a developer in the sense of I go to work and I sit at a computer and I code to a finished product that I get paid to do. So no, not in that sense, but I'm in the tech space, I'm in the development space in the sense of I am teaching it. So with me being able to teach it, whenever they're doing projects like, you know, just last night we had a program that we were doing, and kids were creating landing pages, and being able to be in that creative space with them, I was able to sit down and create my own landing page while they were working on theirs. And then I'd get up every so often and go around and see how they're doing, see if they have any questions. And so it's something that I wouldn't been able to do 3 months ago. So I'm very excited about it. So it's a different experience, but it's a really cool one to have.